Good morning and welcome to Redeemer Lutheran Church. I'm Pastor Gary Lodeholt. It's been 3 weeks. For 3 weeks, I've been telling you about the 7 deadly sins and the 7 godly virtues, and every time I spoke, it always seemed to boil down to God's call to love more. And today, after all this time of calling you to love, I wonder what more there is to say. But I think there are some things about the last godly virtue to say. In other words, there are some things about love to say that haven't yet been said, and I want to say them now. Love gives itself in suffering. This is supposed to be a true story from the time of Oliver Cromwell in England. A young soldier had been tried in military court and sentenced to death. He was to be shot at the ringing of the curfew bell. His fiancée climbed up into the bell tower several hours before curfew time and tied herself to the clapper. At curfew time, when only muted sounds came out of the bell tower, Cromwell wanted to know why the bell was not ringing. His soldiers investigated and returned with the girl, cut, bruised, and bleeding from being knocked back and forth in the bell. The story goes that Cromwell was so impressed by her suffering on behalf of someone she loved that he dismissed the soldier, saying, "Curfew shall not ring tonight." Love gives itself in suffering for another. Love gives itself in caring. A little girl was once sent on an errand for her mother. She took much too long in coming back. Her mother therefore demanded an explanation when she finally did return. The little girl explained that on her way she had met a friend who was crying because she had broken her doll. "Oh," said the mother, "then you stopped to help her fix her doll?" "Oh, no," replied the little girl. "I stopped to help her cry." Love gives itself in caring for one another. Finally, love gives itself. A little orphan boy lived with his grandmother. One night their house caught on fire and the woman perished in the flames. The crowd gathered outside and could hear the little boy's cries for help, but no one seemed to know what to do. Suddenly a stranger rushed from the crowd and circled to the back where he spotted an iron pipe that reached an upstairs window. He grabbed it, disappeared inside, and then came out again with the boy in his arms. Amid the cheers of the crowd, he climbed down the hot pipe as the boy hung on his neck. Weeks later, a public hearing was held in the town hall to determine the fate of the boy. Each person wanting custody was allowed to speak briefly. The first man said, "I have a big farm. Everybody needs the out of doors." The second man said, "I am a teacher and have a large library. He could get a good education." Others spoke, and then finally the richest man in the community said, "I'm wealthy. I could give the boy everything mentioned tonight, plus more. I'd like him in my home." The chairman asked, "Does anyone else have something to say?" From the back of the room rose a stranger. As he walked toward the front, deep suffering showed on his face. He stopped when he stood directly in front of the little boy. The little boy looked up as the man slowly removed his hands from his pockets. The crowd gasped at the sight of his terribly scarred hands, but the boy shouted a cry of recognition. Here was the man who had saved his life, scarring his hands on the hot pipe. With a leap, the boy jumped into the man's arms and held on. The farmer rose and left. The teacher too. Then the rich man. Everyone departed, leaving the boy and his rescuer who had won him without a word. Those marred hands spoke all that was needed to be said. God so loved the world that he gave his only Son. Look around. See the love surrounding you. See where your love is needed. Thanks for watching, and remember to let this day belong to God.